My parents asked me to change my family name to follow my professional dream, but now they're begging me to go back, because with another name, people don't believe I'm part of the family. 12 years ago, I moved away from my hometown after my parents kicked me out of the family. They were very upset with me because I refused to continue working for the family business. I wanted to make my own way. My reasons were simple. That business was going to be taken over by my brother, the Golden Son, after my dad retired. So I had no interest in working on something that was never going to be mine. Besides, I was tired of living with my family and doing everything together. I was 24 at the time, and when I told my parents about my decision, they were really angry. They told me they would cut me off completely if I did this because they wanted their children to continue the family legacy and carry on the business. I don't understand how I was supposed to run the business if I wasn't even going to be in charge. I was always going to be in the passenger seat, and my brother was going to get all the credit for running the company. I wasn't interested in a life like that. I wanted to do something for myself. So, despite all their protests, I decided to leave. I knew perfectly well that if I really left, they would never speak to me again because they were so inflexible and strict. My grandparents were the same way with my dad, and he actually thanked them for it. So I knew he was going to act the same. I wasn't surprised when I left. I was told I had to drop the family name because it was apparently bringing shame to everyone. And I really did drop it, because by then I was already quite frustrated with the way I was being treated. They acted as if my decision to leave was something very personal, when in reality it wasn't. It was just a professional decision, and they should have been able to respect it. They would have respected it if they were normal people, but they are anything but normal. And we haven't spoken since. It's been 12 years, and we haven't had any contact. Even when we see each other at family events, they make sure to ignore me, as if that would make me feel really bad about myself. It hasn't. It just makes me feel relieved to no longer be part of that side of the family and not have that pressure on me. Growing up wasn't very pleasant. Now, for the past 12 years, I've been free to do what I want with my life, and it's been a huge relief. I have been very successful in my life too. In the last 10 years, I have achieved a lot. For the first 2 years after leaving my dad's company, I worked with a friend of mine at another company to gain some experience, because before that, I had only worked for my father. When we thought we had learned enough, we decided to start our own company. And by the grace of God, in the last 10 years, we've really taken off in terms of business and popularity. We run a toy company together, and we're doing extremely well and have been for many years. It's been great, and I'm so happy I made this decision for myself. Recently, in the last few months, our company started doing so well that I was interviewed by a magazine for my business skills, along with my friend. Many people read that magazine, so naturally it also reached my family. That's when they finally decided to reach out to me and tell me they were ready to accept me back into the family and that they were very proud of me. Unfortunately, it's been 12 years now, and I don't want anything to do with them. They contacted me a few days ago and told me they wanted to see me and wanted me to take back the family name. I had dropped it all those years ago and had been using another name that I chose myself, but now I needed to accept my identity because they were ready to accept me back into their lives. That's what they said in their email. They asked for my address and phone number so they could contact me and talk to me in person. But I responded to their email and told them very clearly that I didn't think any of that was necessary. I didn't want them back in my life. I said that if it had taken them 12 years and my success to realize that I really deserved to be part of their family, then I don't think they really loved me at all. What they really want is to be associated with my success. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to allow that to happen because they have nothing to do with it. It's all my merit, not theirs. And, of course, that offended them a lot. So they decided to ask several of our relatives for my contact information, and somehow got it. I had put a lot of effort into changing my entire identity, moving quite far away from them, and making sure they didn't know anything about me for many years. But all of that was in vain just because someone told them everything about me. And now, a few days ago, they showed up at my door demanding a reconciliation. That got pretty ugly, because I told them I didn't want to talk to them, and if they didn't leave, I would call the police. But of course they didn't leave. So I did exactly what I said I would do. Nothing more. Nothing less. They were still standing outside my door, banging on the door and making a racket. So I got frustrated and decided to call the police. And then it was pretty bad, but the police removed them. No charges were filed or anything, but it was still humiliating. They decided to tell the whole family about this, and now people are upset because they think I overreacted. It's very frustrating because I was living my life away from all of them, only for them to come back and haunt me. It seems that changing my house and phone number hasn't helped because with very little effort they've come back into my life. Addition. My grandparents, who were also very strict, thought they were doing my dad a favor by raising him and that he owed them his life for the minimal amount they did for him. My dad wanted to be a musician, and he actually would have been pretty good at it because he still plays from time to time. He is a brilliant guitarist, and as far as I know, he can also play the piano beautifully. Yes, he may not have been extremely successful, or maybe he would have been, but we'll never know because he never had the chance to follow that dream. My grandparents, his parents, made it clear to him that he had to do something respectable with his life. After a lot of fighting, my grandparents told him he could do what they told him, or he could leave the family and never come back. My dad opted for the first option. He decided to go to business school, get a degree, and start his own company. And he thanks his parents for being strict with him, because otherwise he believes he would never have been able to achieve anything in life and would continue to struggle to make ends meet. And that's good for him, I guess, but I don't think that was the healthiest way for him to look at life. To be honest, he has never had a say in anything he has done in his life, and has always blindly followed his parents and their instructions. Their career choice was decided by them. Even my mother was a partner chosen by my grandparents because she was the daughter of one of their friends, and they thought she would be a good fit for the family. They started trying to have children when my grandparents told them to. And they even had me because my grandparents said it would be nice to have 2 children, so my brother wouldn't feel alone. My mom's parents were also somewhat controlling and traditional, but not as much as my paternal grandparents. I never got along with any of them, so it was very difficult for me to understand why my parents were so grateful to them for everything. Because in my opinion, it was a suffocating way to live. Your life may have turned out well, but none of your decisions were really yours. And I really think that's quite sad. Now, a lot of people asked me why I was so sure the company was going to be my brother's and not my own, even if I stayed. And it's because I was literally told that since my brother was the oldest, he would eventually inherit the company. Whenever he decided to retire or take time off, I would be next in line. But other than that, he would definitely be the first priority to take over the company after my dad's retirement. In fact, they were grooming him to eventually take over, while I was just his right-hand man. My brother and I already had a lot of ego fights because I honestly felt like he was the golden child of the family, and to be honest, I'm pretty sure he was, even though my parents insisted otherwise. He is 6 years older than me and is the exact type of son my parents wanted, one who would do whatever they asked of him. They wanted him to marry one of his business partner's daughters at 23, and he did. Then, they wanted him to have children within 2 years of his marriage, and he did that too. On top of that, they demanded that he continue to live with them, and he seemed quite happy about that too. He is a copy of my father. They had the same expectations of me too. And that's what I was mentioning at the beginning of my original post, surviving together constantly and doing everything they wanted me to do. It's true that we have a fairly large house that was built with the intention of being a home for our respective families as well, but I didn't want that for myself. I wanted to live my life my way, and growing up in my own home was one of the luxuries we were never allowed to have. So I think I really had no choice but to leave everything behind and start over, because honestly, my parents would never have left me alone if I had stayed with them. I've always had a lot of problems with my family. I think I can safely say I'm the black sheep of the family. So even though it was somewhat painful, I managed to leave them behind. And even recently, calling the police wasn't a big dilemma for me. The only reason I've been questioning my decision is because of the criticism I've received from the rest of the family. And for those who said I should change my phone number, that's easier said than done. Besides, they haven't read anything I wrote. That's what I did this time. My parents didn't have my new number, and it was very easy for them to get it. Doing so is quite complicated for me because I certainly have many professional contacts who call me all the time and whom I would have to inform one by one. It would be a lot of work to do it myself and then have my parents get it again. Today, it's not very difficult to do, especially for my parents. There is also no option for a restraining order. You can't get one just because someone came to your house. Update 1. So I decided to talk to a couple of people who have been criticizing me for calling the police on my parents. Most of the family has stayed away from this whole mess, but there were many relatives who got involved in my business. So they contacted me. They sent me messages telling me that I was wrong and that I owed them an apology, things like that. It's clear that these relatives share my parents' views. But to be honest, I'm not ready to forgive them or have a relationship with them, and I think I never will be. The idea of returning to that family suffocates me, and this time away from them has given me perspective. On the one hand, I can live without them, and on the other, I prefer it that way. I get no benefit from returning to them while they have so much to gain. While I have to put up with my golden brother and all the crap that comes with this family, they get to display my accomplishments like hunting trophies. Nothing more than that. Let's also not forget that it took them 12 years to even try to talk to me, even though they could have done it a lot sooner if they really wanted to. But they only wanted to do it now because I'm successful. They have heard about it and want to be associated with it. So I don't understand why I'm expected to forgive them for that. I contacted those relatives who were interfering in my business for no reason and trying to make it seem like I was the bad guy for calling the police, even though I had clearly told them that was exactly what I was going to do. I don't know what they expected, but oh well. I tried to be very polite and sent the same message to everyone, explaining everything I just mentioned. I think I was perfectly rational and reasonable. I even mentioned the fact that I could understand why they felt a certain way, because they were following my parents' narrative. Naturally, they were taking their version of events that my parents wanted them to believe. And that way, of course, they were going to think I was the bad guy, because they didn't even know my side of the story. But now that they knew it, they had to decide for themselves which side they wanted to take. I also ended the message by saying that I would totally understand if they decided to side with my parents on this. But if they did, I would really appreciate it if they didn't go out of their way to drag me into this, because I really want to stay away from them. I don't want drama. I think people will understand that I don't want any drama because it's my parents who are telling all this. I haven't talked about this with anyone. Many people didn't respond at all, and some did. They just wanted to argue with me and create drama out of nothing. They knew perfectly well that I was quite upset about all this and decided to take advantage of that. These people started telling me that my parents were very upset, but that I owe them my life because I was raised by them, and that I can't behave like that with them, because it's ungrateful and selfish. I don't understand why they have such strong opinions on this, considering they're not even directly involved in any of this. But anyway, the people who responded made it very clear that they just wanted to fight me. And I didn't respond at all because I didn't think it was worth it. After all, this is between my parents and me. They're not involved, so I don't have to act like I owe them an explanation. These people have only done the bare minimum for me as family. I've been invited to events, but that's all. When I initially left my parents, no one helped me, no one looked out for me, and I was alone. Back then, nobody cared about any of this. Nobody interfered in a situation that didn't concern them at all. But now, just because they think they have a chance to join in, their only purpose is to annoy me and nothing more. I don't even understand why I was so upset by these people's opinions in the first place. And if I hadn't called the police, they would have just kept bothering me more and more until they got what they wanted. And that's not going to happen. I don't want to know anything about them. Not now, not ever. I've been hurt enough. If my parents were reasonable, rational people, I might even have considered mending my relationship with them, but they are obviously not that kind of people. If they were, their first instinct wouldn't have been to go around telling people what happened with the police and all that, and trying to make me look like the bad guy just so I'd feel guilty and talk to them. Well, that's all for now. I'll keep you updated on what happens next because I'm pretty sure there's more to come after this. Update 2. After 11 days since my last update today, since my parents were unwilling to show up directly or were afraid, they sent my brother to do the dirty work. It was a terrible plan because if I didn't want to see them, I certainly didn't want to see my brother. You know, I don't get along with my brother, and I don't even like him very much. It's no secret. Anyway, he showed up with his wife, and they were both trying to be polite, even when I tried to kick them out. I told them the same thing. Even if they stood outside my door for the rest of the afternoon, I would just call the police, and they would be treated the same way my parents were treated. After all, they are part of the same family, and I had made it clear that I wanted nothing to do with them. But my brother told me that I should open the door and let him in, at least to talk to me, that he just wanted to have a civil conversation about what was going on. After a while, it became clear that he wasn't going to leave without talking to me, so I decided to let him in. But I did it more out of curiosity than anything else, because I really wanted to know what he had to say about all this. I knew my parents had sent him, that was obvious, but I still wanted to see what would happen. So I let them in after about 20 minutes. Once inside, my sister-in-law remained silent while my brother talked the entire time. I think she was just there for moral support or whatever, but I'm glad she was there because otherwise it would have been pretty awkward and things would have been even uglier than they were. Anyway, once my brother was inside, he started telling me that our parents were very upset with my behavior, especially since they had shown up to try to fix our relationship, and instead of appreciating that, I had called the police. He said they were very discouraged by my coldness. He told me they were willing to work things out now, but that I had to be the one to start the process because they'd already tried, and I'd turned them down pretty brutally. He told me that our parents seemed to regret their decision and missed me a lot during these 12 years, but they were always afraid to contact me, so they never did, and I had proven them right by behaving as I did recently. At that point, as he was talking about how miserable our parents had been for the past 12 years, I had to interrupt him because I didn't believe it one bit. I told them again that it was very clear that it would not have been that difficult for them to contact me and find out where I was if they really wanted to talk to me. If they had done it at the beginning, maybe I would have really appreciated it and responded in a more positive way. But the timing of all this is what really seems suspicious to me. So how did they expect me to think they weren't after me just because I'm successful now and they wanted to be associated with that? And I told my brother that I could very well understand that he was here just to speak on behalf of my parents. He had nothing original to say and wanted to do the same thing everyone else had tried to do, make them look like the victims and me look like a spoiled, ungrateful brat. Unfortunately, I wasn't going to let him push that narrative, especially not with me. I told him I had heard him and now he needed to go. That's when he lost his cool. He kicked one of my pieces of furniture and told me he wasn't done talking and that he wouldn't leave until I said he was going to talk to our parents because he was already fed up with my disgusting behavior. He acted like a total child and I pointed it out. That's when things started to get ugly. Honestly, at that moment, we really went back to how we were before. We were fighting like teenagers, calling each other mean names, being horrible to each other. That's when my sister-in-law decided to intervene. Let me make it clear that she and I are not close friends. And to be honest, I don't really know what kind of person she is because I haven't interacted with her much, but oh well. She got up, grabbed her husband, and started walking out with him. Although he was quite against leaving and wanted to stay and argue with me, he finally couldn't fight her and left, but only after cursing at me. Anyway, I was just happy he was gone. I didn't care that he was cursing me or anything, but I decided at that moment that I was done with all this. After this, I'm not going to let anyone else in the family bother me about this. I've worked very hard to get where I am today, and I deserve some peace and quiet. Update 3. In these 4 days since my last update, I had been looking for new apartments or houses to move to so that I could have a new address that only a few trusted people would know about. That way, my parents wouldn't be able to find out. To be honest, it was a big decision, but I thought I had to do it. I was just thinking of telling a few friends, and that's it. However, I have decided not to pursue this further because I don't think my parents or anyone in the family will try to contact me again, at least not after what happened today. As I mentioned last time, the last time I interacted with my family was with my brother, who came over and ended up fighting with me. It was all very immature and ugly. Then, 2 days later, this idiot decided to post about our fight on social media. I don't know why he did it, but luckily this time, not only our family members saw that post, but his school friends saw it too, and these people know me. They know how they have treated me. I think pretty much everyone in my life knows how difficult it has been for me, and they called his attention for his behavior. They told me that my decision was completely fair, and that it was my choice whether I wanted to talk to my parents or not, and if I didn't, then they had to respect it. They couldn't pretend I was the bad guy for wanting to stay away from people who have disrespected me my entire life. Of course, he couldn't stand that, so he ended up deleting the post shortly after. But I got what I wanted because so many people have been sending me support and telling me that I'm very strong for handling all of this on my own and not having to stoop to publishing to seek sympathy, as he has done. So that's part of the reason why I don't think they're going to contact me again. The other part is that my parents emailed me this morning saying they were really bummed out by all the crap my brother had said the other day. I didn't even bother to read the whole email. I simply responded by saying that I didn't want to talk to them. I called them pathetic and told them that after the way they had treated me my entire life, they had no right to expect any kind of forgiveness from me. I also told them that I didn't want anything to do with them and that they needed to understand that. I warned them that if they tried to contact me again, I was going to ruin their lives by writing a book or whatever, telling my side of the story, and I would ruin their entire reputation because I'm not going to tolerate this nonsense anymore. I also told them that if they really wanted to play that game and try to gain sympathy from other people, they would regret it a lot, because I have a much greater reach than they do. I can post about this very easily too, but then they'd have to answer to a lot more people, and I might even end up ruining their reputation if I spoke out. So, you better be careful now. I told them this was my last warning, and so ended the email. They responded half an hour later saying they understood and would never bother me again. They also apologized for upsetting me so far and said they thought I would appreciate their attempt at reconciliation, but it was clearly too much for them. Now, I didn't bother responding to that because this conversation was over, as was any relationship I had with them, which had already ended 12 years ago anyway, so it didn't matter. I could be wrong, but I feel positive that this ended their contact once and for all, and I'm happy about that. I'm done. I have nothing to do with these people anymore. I thought this was going to hurt or feel bad at least, but it doesn't. I just feel even more relieved than I did 12 years ago, and I'm so glad I decided to handle all of this in a more dignified way than they did. They ruined their own reputation and ruined any chance they had of reconciling with me. I just hope they can live with it. Update 4. I've been staying away from Reddit for a couple of years now, because I was living my life while watching my family's life fall apart in the background. Well, it wasn't a total implosion, but it was big enough to warrant an update. My brother stopped bothering me too, I guess, because my parents told him to. And as for the rest of the family, I have no news either. Everything is too quiet, which was more than ideal. I told myself, time to go back to my life as it was before, the way I liked it. But maybe 3 weeks or a month after the last time I updated, everything blew up. Not only did my brother's wife file for divorce, but she also made a public accusation of domestic violence against him. Now I believe that on the day of her visit, she knew very well what my brother was capable of, and that is why she restrained him and spoke to him slowly. I knew what he could do to me or her if he went into a freak mode, as he called it in his post. In the post denouncing my brother, there was photo evidence of things he had done to her, as well as stories of all the things he did to her during the time they were married. There was a lot of commotion because she also mentioned the company he worked for. It went nuclear in the blink of an eye. My brother's wife's parents jumped straight to attacking her friends, my parents, and it all got pretty ugly within a few days. So much so that my parents had to fire my brother from the company and issue a statement saying they didn't accept that type of employee, even if they were part of the family, that they condemned such acts, and that it was very painful to know that a person in the family was capable of that. Still, people haven't believed this and have been attacking all of the company's online channels. Luckily, they don't have a big online presence. They are more traditionalist, but I have still seen them close comments or stop posting altogether to minimize risks. My brother is divorced, and among other results of all this, he has had to move out of my parents' house. I know my parents didn't want to be in the position of people thinking they were protecting a batterer. My brother hasn't said much either, not even trying to clear his name or justify himself. He's opted not to wait for everything to calm down. I don't know the details of his personal life, but from what I saw in some recent posts that were later deleted, there are still people who remember that the company is run by thugs. Update 5. My parents are in the process of selling the company before it's too late. I can't talk without knowing the numbers, but I haven't heard from that place in years. However, I know my parents have put it up for sale before the bad publicity affects them further. They want to get the most out of it before it's too late. And without my brother to inherit and run it, they believe it is the best decision at this time. From the outside, it may seem like a good thing. They get a lot of money for it, and it won't change much in their lives. But my father, and to a large extent, my mother, love that company even more than my brother. It's a third child for them, and if they could have gone to school plays, taken it out for ice cream, or anything else a parent would do with a human, they would have done it before us. That's the love they had for it. I'm glad I don't have that last name, because now I'd be dragged down by them too. If I hadn't changed it years ago, I don't know what would have happened. It's not like the people who attacked my parents' company can explain to them that you're away from that company. With a different last name, it's much easier. And when we talk about attacks, we're talking about physical attacks too, with graffiti on the company's windows and things like that. Perhaps it's all made worse because my parents' company sells a feminine product, which seems to generate more outrage. That's all I can report so far. Addition. My parents' company has already been sold. That's all I know. There is nothing more I have to say because this is what I have publicly revealed. But since it is a private company, the values have not been revealed, only that it has been sold.